All right, welcome to part 5 of Project Crewman, and I hope you liked the new intro to the show. I've been meaning to build a new one. So as you can see, we still have no firewall in the Crewman. Right now what I've been working on doing is getting all of the glue out of the channel. I started over there on that side, and I'll show you what that looks like all cleaned out and show you what the rest of it looks like in a minute here. Now after I got all the fenders off the car and the doors, my buddy Sean came over, and remember when we took the windshield out? When he was over here, he pointed out to me just how high the water got on this thing. Remember how I said that it was a flood vehicle? I always assumed it maybe just got up to here, and then because they rolled the car off, they just stripped all the interior out of it and resold it. No. I'll show you how high the water got. You can see along the frame here, you can see a point where you start seeing water spots and speckles, and there's a definite line where that stops. And he says what that tells you is that's how high the water got. So the water got this high. So if I take that back away, that's over the front wheel. So the water got pretty high in this thing, and that explains why there's no carpet, no front seats. There was nothing on the dash at all. It's kind of amazing that the back seat is still there and that the rear door trims were there. Although I think somebody was starting to kind of piece this thing back together, and then they gave up on it because the car did come with duplicates of some interior trim pieces. Like for example, I have 2 front passenger door skins or inner door trims, but all the better for me because now it means I get to put it back together. The next thing I'm gonna have to do is take all of the wiring out of the car, and I wanna get all of the brake lines out of the car and everything that is not welded to the engine bay out of the engine bay. Because when I want to go to clean this thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a pressure washer and I'm just going to blast all the dirt and the grime out of this thing. And that's going to be the best way to get all the metal as clean as possible to get it ready for paint. So let me show you what this channel looks like now, now that I'm starting to clean the glue out of it. I've just been attacking it again with my picks, ripping as much glue out as possible. Then I follow behind it with a steel wheel on my drill with steel wire wool, and I've just been going along in the channel and scraping as much of the glue out of there as I can to get it as clean as I can. Then when I've got the whole channel clean, then I'm going to set the firewall in there and just see how it sits. I tried to sit it in there before with all the glue still in the channel and it wouldn't go all the way down, so I'm pretty confident that once all the glue is out of here, it's going to slam right to the bottom and it's going to fit right into place. So as you can see, this is the state of the Crewman today. It has almost no interior left. The doors are gone, and I've been busy stripping all kinds of parts off it. So if you look here, there used to be a whole plastic section that went around the back here. It's called the sail plane, and it's got side panels and then a top panel. And I wanted to get all of this off to get it ready for paint. The only things I still have to take off are some trim pieces down there, and then the whole bed still has to come off, and I've been emptying it. I got a bunch of extra panels back here. As you can see, this is another side panel I got, and I have one on this side too. So I have some extras, which is good because that one's broken. I have a replacement for it. I have another one for this too, but it's kind of cracked. If you can see right here, there's actually a crack in it right there, and I can press on it. I have the same thing on the other side too. For whatever reason, these ones are steel and these ones are plastic. Don't ask me why. And you can't really get these anymore. So it's a good thing that I have one that's at least in one piece. I might have to find somebody who can do plastic repair because I don't want that crack to split and get any worse on either of those pieces. The firewall is still in the same shape it was. I haven't done anything with that yet. My goal right now is to just get the rest of the entire harness out of the car. So this harness right here, it goes back underneath the car, and in order to remove it properly, you have to take the bed off, which is why I'm kind of at a standstill. And I still have to get everything for the fuel tank out, and the only way to access the fuel tank is also to get the bed off. And I'm definitely going to have to access the fuel tank, which lives up under there, because it's definitely going to need a new fuel pump. God knows what's in there. Who knows what's in the tank? Nothing left in the engine bay right now apart from a couple brake lines, and I have to figure out how to undo the connectors down there so I can get these lines down, out, and away. I did manage to locate an ECU harness, and I'm very pleased to find out that it will actually bolt right in without me having to modify anything. This is where the 0506 GTOs put it. There's already a bolt hole there for it. So bolts here and there, and it'll attach, and I'll have it in the ECU in the factory location. No problem at all. Now you might be asking yourself, if the Crewman is this disassembled, where are all the parts? Well, the thing is, this car has kind of taken over the basement of my house. So let me show you just exactly what has happened with this project in terms of storing things. So first off, this is the engine bay and dash harness out of that front cut that I bought. And whether or not I'm going to use this harness or any part of it remains to be seen now that I have the 06 car. But I know that the 06 car, all this stuff was sitting outside for God knows how long, is probably no good. There are a couple of connectors, I think, that are cut off of this thing. So it might be a bunch of splicing to make 2 good harnesses out of 1 or 3 good harnesses out of 2, because the other thing I have over here, this is the engine bay and dash harness out of the Crewman. Most of this is completely useless to me because it's all for right-hand drive, but the parts from the fuse block forward are all useful to me because they all have the correct connectors for all of the lights and the fog lights and the horns and everything in the front of the Crewman. And it's going to be a lot easier to take this part off and put it on whatever assembly I'm going to use in the end than trying to take connectors off and put connectors on and risk breaking them. Just going to be easier to do it all right there. And through this door into my storage area, this is where it gets a little insane. So this is my shelf of many parts, some of them Crewman and some of them GTO. Like right here are a set of front Crewman door panels that I have, the back seat, various other trim pieces, most of them interior trim pieces. This is really the interior section. Got the B-pillar trims and everything organized. An extra GTO steering wheel I got. Various body control modules. Here's a new Crewman badge. All kinds of lights. I've got all new fog lights, all new headlights, all new reflectors, fender flutes because the Crewman has fender flutes. All of that stuff is here in these boxes. I'm not going to open it up and show it all to you. Here's the original Crewman front bumper. It's intact. It's not cut or ripped anywhere. It's just scuffed from years of use. It needs a little bit of attention before paint. This is a new lower grill for it. I have new upper grills as well. Those were pretty easy to get. And then back here, this is Crewman Nirvana. So looking back here, if you look all the way to the back, you can see there's the hood, there's the windshield, there's the front fenders. Here are the front doors. This is both the front wheel guards, and then these are the rocker panels, parking brake cables, which were in the cab. Here are the back doors, right here. Then we've got, this is the sail plane that was on the back end of the roof. It unfortunately broke in several places when I was trying to get it out because it's very fiddly and it's very dry rotted and it's very hard to get them out to begin with. These are the side parts of the sailplane. Those are intact. Those didn't break at all. They will be easy to reinstall. But sitting back here has been the biggest score since last I updated you on the car. You might be able to tell just by looking at it what this is. But I will just tell you right now, this is the heart of the Crewman when it gets put back together. This is the engine I will be using. And I'm not going to reveal any details about it just yet. But I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people out there that are going to say, are you absolutely nuts? Why would you do this? Well, it will all come to light more once I reveal what this engine is. I will tell you right now, it is an LS Platform V8, and I will give no more information at this time. So here's the tray right here. It comes with these 6 little braces that you can put straps on. They're all pretty thin metal from the factory. I'm probably going to get those upgraded to much stronger units once I get everything ready to be redone back here. But there's 2 bolt holes in the front, one here and one over there. Then there's bolts underneath where there should be little rubber grommets here. back here. And then on each frame rail, right above the tire, there are 2 more bolt holes, 8 bolts in total, and that's all that holds one of these trays on. So I'm able to pick it up on both sides without much effort. So I'm hoping I can just lift the whole thing up with the engine hoist here and then just work it back this way and set her on the ground and get it ready to put somewhere while I do the rest of my work. Okay, the bed is now officially off. So now that I've got this all apart, let me show you what things look like back here. So to explain how they build these things, so there is a welding point right here where body panels are joined together, and there's another one down here. So from here forward, the whole thing is Holden Commodore, and then they put this piece on that contains the flat back window and then the ladder frame to hold the bed in place. Here's the fuel tank, and it almost looks like a giant oil pan because it's all flat here because that's where the exhaust is, and then there's a little hump right here. Now supposedly this thing holds 16 gallons, but it doesn't really look like it does. So I wonder if they ever made a larger size tank. Hopefully they did, because I might think about upgrading. But it's a little different to the GTO in that it's missing a fuel tank pressure sender. So that's something I need to add because it's required for US emissions. So I do have to change that. Looks like it should be roughly the same kind of pump setup as a GTO. So hopefully a GTO one will just drop in. I've got one to test fit to try. And then I've got all the wiring back here. This is for the charcoal canister. GTOs have this as well. Here's an old wasp nest or something. This right down here, this is what's gonna go away. Right down here, see this thing with the chain? This is actually a brake proportioning valve that 05 Crewmans had. So the way this works is this chain is attached to the rear axle, and the lighter that the back is, the more this chain is pulled down, and there's like a little piston down there that this thing actuates. And what it does is controls how much brake fluid actually gets to the rear brakes on this thing. So the heavier the back end, the more the axle is toward the thing, the more the chain comes up, the more brake fluid it allows to come to the back. Well, I'm not even going to try to make this thing work. It's going to all get deleted, and I'm going to go to a proper 4-wheel ABS system. So I'll have to work on that. I'll have to work on a ton of stuff back here. But the main reason I had to do this is because the whole wiring loom that comes out of the back of the cab comes through here around the fuel tank, and I couldn't get it out without removing the fuel tank. So now I can get it out, and now I'll be able to start changing the wiring around for the fuel tank pressure sensor. And I'm going to add some wires for future things that I'm probably going to have in the bed. So now that that's done, I can actually start the wiring. So rather than trying to get this engine bay painted myself, because I'm not happy with how any of my test colors came out when I did it with a spray can, I decided what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to redo the wiring first, and then I'm going to build as much of this dash as I can without getting it completely installed. And then once I've done that, then I'm going to take it out. Then I'll send it over to a body shop, and I'll have this all painted properly by professionals so it looks nice. Then I'll bring it back, then I'll glue the dash in for good, and then I can start finishing, assembling, and putting in engine, transmission, all those things, and really get working on this project. So now the first project is going to be the wiring, which there's a lot. So it's going to be quite a while working on that. So that's going to do it for this episode covering Project Crewman, which is now taking up more garage space than I thought it would. But you know what? It's going to get there. It's just going to take a while. So like and subscribe if you like what's going on with this project. So in the meantime, thanks for watching this episode of Josh's Car Corner and Project Crewman. See you soon.